Broskies! Broham! Broseph! Come here, Saber.
Yo, come here, girl. Come here, tell him what the day is, girl. Tell him what the day is. Tell him what the day is. You tell him what the day is. Look at the camera, tell him what the day is. Don't tell me what the day is.
It's Tier List Tuesday! What's going on with y'all, big dog? And it is Tier List Tuesday! I sound fucking stupid when I hope that your day, phenomenal. But if it isn't, don't let what happened at the beginning of your day ruin the rest of your day. Me personally, I've been trying to staple my life back together because it's
cold in here. It must be some...
Shut up, Callie. Rheumatoid arthritis definitely gets way better in the cold, but since I'm stapling my life back together, I thought you would know what are the best staples post Photon Hypernova. That's right, big dog. We are going to be talking about some of the new staple cards from that set, as well as talking about how the implications or the impact the set will have on the top staple cards you should be playing. And of course, big dog, if you want to see more content like this, we trying to get to 150,000 subscribers. Be sure to destroy that subscribe button if you want to be too strong. So as you can see, my brother in Christ, I have 5 different categories. Better be caught with it really good, solid as hell, situational, and then staple those divorce papers together. My friend, everything on this tier list is pretty self-explanatory, and if you're playing these cards on the bottom, you got those divorce papers ready from the game. Look, I'm not telling you to leave your wife, but if she is a police officer, well, let's just get into the tier list. So Photon Hypernova is set to introduce some new and bring up some old strategies and make them powerful. Some decks that I want to put you on notice is Kashtira. This deck is thought to be the new Tier 0 deck. Plunder Patrol is actually ridiculously powerful. I have an archetype analysis on it that you should check out. And Lab Mommies, I swear, this is the best Yu-Gi-Oh deck that I have played in so long. I'll even make an archetype analysis on this post Photon Hypernova too. Let me know if that's what you want to see. So of course, we're going to assume that every single one of those strategies in Photon Hypernova will perform pretty decent at the beginning, and we're going to judge these staples, not only that, but the past cards that we've seen in this particular format. Let's go ahead and jump on in and talk about your boy, Book of Eclipse. This card is going to be an extremely good card in the Yu-Gi-Oh format, and it's because not a lot of decks can put up spell and trap card negates, and this is going to be an out to the Kashtira board. The only thing that you gotta watch out for is that this card can be Ash Blossom and then Joyous Spring, saying that it does include the effect of drawing cards, which is unfortunate, but overall it's a fairly solid card. I would put Swords of Concealing Light in really good as well. Next is your boy Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is going to be pretty good at stopping hand traps, won't be really good against decks like Kashtira. Plunder Patrol will be neutral, and Labyrinth will probably laugh at it. There are so many versatile strategies in the Yu-Gi-Oh card game that don't need the graveyard and don't play hand traps. This could be a bad card at times, and then of course, this could be an amazing card at times. Change of Heart. Oh no! My baby. Look guys, if your girlfriend is doing the change of heart, my guys, she's kind of doing good. I ain't trying to disrespect you, but she doing all right. Being able to snatch your opponent's monster and use it for your own, since there's not a lot of spell and trap negation, this card could be really powerful. Hey guys, we in the format where it's Mr. Take Your Bitch, so do it. Cosmic Cyclone, my boys. I would say that banishing cards isn't necessarily a priority right now, but back row removal should be valued to some type of space. While decks like Plunder Patrol, Sprite, and Tier Limit don't necessarily care about it too much, being able to hit a well-timed Suyig for Tier Limit or being able to hit a Kashtira face down card, that can be good. Hitting a Plunder Patrol or the Adventure Engine could also be good. I just think that there might be better cards, as banishing is not a priority. And for the people that's like, where's Mystical Space Typhoon? My friend, this is Mystical Space Typhoon. It's modern Mystical Space Typhoon. You can play it. Same logic applies. Crossout Designator is a card that so many terrible Yu-Gi-Oh players say is good. I understand in Master Duel this card is good, but in the TCG, my guy, this card has not been good ever. And this is not a hot take. This should be called Colder than your mom's pillow, cause she be at my house. Hey, I told you about change of heart, my boy. That's just how I be. What I would personally put Dark Hole, I would put it in situational. I actually thought that destruction cards like Dark Hole and Raigeki would be good, but unfortunately, the Kashtira monster and Kashtira Shangri-La unfortunately will detach a material when being destroyed. I don't think that this is the solution to Kashtira, or as an effective solution as you would think. Though these cards are amazing at being able to wipe boards, and again, there's not a lot of spell and trap negation going around. These could be powerful, they just sometimes aren't as effective as a Book of Eclipse or Swords of Concealing Light, in my opinion. On top of that, sometimes it's way more important just to negate your opponent's monster effects. Your deck should be doing some lifting, my guys. Get over those monsters like you should. Dark Ruler no more. My guys, my boys, my brothers in Christ. You better be Woody. My guys, look, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6, and Dark Ruler no more will turn your deck into my friend. Dark Ruler no more will be a ridiculously powerful card going into the format post Photon Hypernova, and it's strictly because it allows you to negate your opponent's board and free up your zones from Kashtira, as well as being able to address a lot of the power boards in Yu-Gi-Oh! And allowing you to play your game. This card will also be extremely valued because now it's searchable, my friends. I'm seeing right now at least one copy in almost every single Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck just because of how easy it is to get into it. Dimensional Fissure is another card that I'm ready to sign the papers. The papers. My guy, do not play this card. I don't think that Dimensional Fissure is a terrible Yu-Gi-Oh! Card, but unfortunately, unless your deck gains advantage itself off Dimensional Fissure, playing cards like this inside of your main board, that's what we consider staple Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards, isn't something that I think will be beneficial to you because you're playing a card to hopefully stop your opponent, and if your opponent is playing a deck that doesn't mind the graveyard, well, you're playing one less card in your hand. Enemy Controller, oh my god, I mean, come on guys, we're in the Take Your Bish format. Enemy Controller has the versatility of being able to take your opponent's bish on their turn or switch that monster to the booty position so you could clap it up. I actually really like Enemy Controller in this format. The only problem is you're going to need monsters to be able to tribute, and not every deck can afford to do that. Forbidden Chalice, I would 100% have to say, is deceptively good right now. Not only can this card answer to monsters like Kid Kalos on your turn if the card's not banned by now, it also is a card that can address your negated zones and being able to handle some of those trap deck monsters that wants to summon, as well as address the Plunder Patrol monsters. Like, one of the only decks that this card does not theoretically trade well against is Sprite. Other than that, this card is solid. It's a pretty decent Yu-Gi-Oh! Card, and it's cheap. Now, Forbidden Chalice is a solid card, then the Drip is obviously a really good card. Right now, we're going to be valuing a lot of negation in this format. Droplet can not only respond to your opponent's cards on your turn, it can respond on your opponent's turn. As long as you don't care about the cards that you're getting rid of, this card is a solid card at being able to address a lot of the boards that we're going to be seeing. Now, Gigantic Thundercross is actually a really interesting card from Photon Hypernova. It allows you to target monsters on the field or graveyard equal to the difference between the cards that you and your opponent have banished, and then banish them. That is a ridiculously powerful card. The only drawback is that now your opponent can special summon a monster from their deck. So there's a few drawbacks. I never want my opponent to get a monster from their deck, and this card does special summon from the deck, so Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring can hit. I'm gonna say fairly situational. I think that this card would be good against a deck that doesn't use a lot of monsters, but then at the same time, you wouldn't be banishing monsters, would you? Maybe if Gigantic Thundercross said banish cards on the field and graveyard, and then your opponent special summons a monster, it'd be pretty good against decks like Runic and Labyrinth, but I'm not sure where exactly this would fit, as I would never want my opponent to just get a free monster from their deck, and it has to be in a game state where we'd have to have a differential of banished cards. Now, Gozen Match is going to represent Gozen Match, there can be only one, and of course our favorite card, Rivalry of the Warlords. I think that this card is, oh man, I think it's going to be fairly situational. My problem with Rivalry of the Warlords Gozu match, and there can be only one, I think Gozu match will be effective against the Kashtira deck. Unfortunately, it won't be as good against Tier Limit, and it can trade mid with Sprite depending on what they're playing and how they're going to play against it. But overall, all of these cards, as well as cards like Skill Drain and Summon Limit, have one critical problem. There is way too much destruction in Yu-Gi-Oh! To be able to rely on a Floodgate, especially if you're playing a trap-based deck. My boy, they are coming for you, my guy. I wouldn't say that Floodgates are in a terrible situation if your opponent does not have the destruction and you're golden, but if they do, I mean, I wouldn't. Harpy's Feather Duster in the main board, I think, will always be solid. At its very best, it's destroying a couple of decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! At its very worst, it's destroying one spell or trap card that could be extremely problematic. There aren't a lot of
If this card is sent to the graveyard, I get effects
coming up right now. So the only thing you really have to worry about is Tier Limit Suliek being able to get a search, or Tier Limit Screen being able to get graveyard recursion. But overall, you probably want to get rid of it off of the field more than anything so you can keep on playing. Ice Dragon's Prison is a really good card. If your mother and father were related before the marriage, they definitely should staple those divorce papers and get that going on there. My guy, we are not in 2020. This card is just a little bit too slow right now. Though I'm pretty sure that back row players will disagree, I personally think that there are better trap cards in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game, especially with some new cards that we got. For Kashtira Fenrir, I want Yugi Boomers to think of this card like Cyber Dragon when it first came out. Not only is it a huge chunky boy threat, it also gets rid of one of your opponent's threats. It's literally the exact same card. If your deck needs a chunky monster with spot removal, then consider Kashtira Fenrir as your go-to card. The Lightning Boys, I 100% think that this is a solid Yu-Gi-Oh! Card right now. I'm not a fan of it not necessarily being able to hit the monsters, though I do like the versatility of sometimes catching your opponent where they even summon monsters and attack, or have to have monsters and attack, and you can just lightning storm those monsters, and it also still has the versatility of hitting spells and trap cards. Pretty good. For Macrocosmos, yeah, my guy, if we got staple those divorce papers for the better card, we gonna put you right here. Fun fact, your opponent can Ash Blossom and Joy Spring this card. Doesn't do anything, but they can do it. Mind Control is the exact same thing as Change of Heart. Keep in mind, guys, I'm going to call this the Take Your Bish format. And if this card comes at more than one, we taking bishes. If you guys are playing a going second deck, these two cards just might be your bread and butter, my friend. Paleozoic Dynamiscus overall is a very good card, but unfortunately, I think that these type of trap cards are a little too slow unless you have a dedicated build around them. Now, just like that police officer, if you like trains, Red Vinegar Crossing would probably be up your alley. It allows you to be able to return all cards in its column if your opponent controls a set card. There's multiple innuendos right there. Unfortunately for that, I would definitely 1000%, 1,000,000% staple those divorce papers together. My friend, please, please. Nobody wants a card that everybody has. I mean, this card's not good. Repeated Land Transaction is one of the most confusing cards in Photon Hypernova, especially if you're reading it by yourself. So let's read it together. What Repeated Land Transaction does is allow you to banish one field spell from either player's side of the field. Then you place the field spell face up on the opposite field of the field that you banished. You following me here? From there, it allows you to take a field spell card in the graveyard of the player that controls the new field spell card and place it to the other player's side of the field. Basically, it's a repeated land transaction. This is one of the worst written cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Easily staple those divorce papers together. I would assume that this would go on if a divorce does happen, except you ain't getting no land, my friend. You could say you might need to be landing a new job, especially in the Take Your Bish format. With all of the great spell and trap cards being used right now, such as the Take Your Bish monsters, the flip your opponent's monsters face down, the negators, the destructors, the more negators, yeah, Solemn Judgment is a pretty good Yu-Gi-Oh! Card right now. Because of the spell and trap cards being so heavy, being able to pay half your life points to stop one of your opponent's board-breaking cards is gonna be really good. I wouldn't be surprised if Kashtira decks start playing this card inside of their main board, as being able to stop a normal summon or special summon is also really good. Solemn Strike, I don't think is a terrible Yu-Gi-Oh! Card, but unfortunately, I would be stapling the divorce papers right next to Solemn Warning. I don't think that these cards are very powerful right now because they don't stop spell and trap cards, which are going to be really important. Super Polymerization is also a situational card. I can't think of a line where you can use Super Polymerization on Kashtira's. No. This card is pretty decent against Sprite and Tearlaments, doesn't trade well against Labyrinths, and a Plunder Patrol, not necessarily good, but against Tearlaments and some other decks, this card can be pretty good. So I would suggest that if your deck can play Super Polymerization and fuse its own cards, then that's where it would be able to thrive. Threatening or Samite allows you to choose 3 monsters in your graveyard, then select one of them. Your opponent can either special summon the other 2 or the one in your graveyard. This card is, it's a lot of cool things about it, but unfortunately not a good Yu-Gi-Oh card right now. Off the top of my head, I couldn't think of any competitive decks that can use it, but if there is a deck that gains monsters when being summoned, and you can put multiple in the graveyard extremely fast, as well as taking full advantage of this trap card, it's there. Torrential Tribute is not a bad Yu-Gi-Oh card, especially against decks like Kashtira and Plunder Patrol, though it is a trap card, so it's a little bit slow and susceptible to back row removal. Triple Tactics Talent will easily be one of the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Way too many monster effects that are going to be used on our turn pretty much, so you might as well just take advantage of it. Oh yeah, and this card can take your opponent's bish. And lastly, the new Triple Tactics Tasking, which says if your opponent activates a monster effect this turn, you can set 1 normal spell or trap card to your side of the field, but if they control a monster, you can add it to your hand. Now, if you're setting it to your side of the field, then you can't use it, but if you're adding it to your hand, you just made Dark Ruler No More, Triple Tactics Talent, Change of Heart, Mind Control, Lightning Storm, Harpy's Feather Duster. You just made all of them very viable, searchable Yu-Gi-Oh cards. My friend, what is worse than 1 Harpy's Feather Duster? 4. 4 Harpy's Feather Dusters is worse than 1. With so many Yu-Gi-Oh decks being able to activate monster effects on your turn, this card can completely warp the Yu-Gi-Oh format and change it on its head. Cards that were ridiculously hard to come by or extremely limited now become extremely searchable, and this card is going to be the cause of a lot of it. Overall, I do think that this staple shakeup is warranted from Photon Hypernova, and these are my thoughts for these particular cards. If you guys feel that I missed a particular card that you want me to talk about, if you go ahead and post down below in the comment section, I will try to put it on the next tier list. Maybe it was a staple or a sideboard Yu-Gi-Oh card, and that's the reason why it's there. Also, if you want to see another type of tier list, go ahead and let your boy know, as I'll catch you on the next one.